Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing on this beautiful Thursday morning? Hope everyone is doing well. I myself have been running around crazy trying to get ready for this morning. I don't think I am actually ready, but we got to do this thing anyway, so we'll get started. So, let's see here. No need to show what knife I carried last night because y'all already know. But we will do an unboxing here. I had some things in the mailbox. I'm trying to get my labels peeled off here. Give me just a second. Well, that box has a ton of tape. Use that old school brown tape. Brown box tape. Haven't seen that in a while. Alright. Got the labels off of both of these. Let's see here. Good morning, Ed. Good morning, Pete. Good morning, Robin. Good morning, TC. Good morning, Mister. Good morning, Michael. So I carried this again last night, as you can see. I just got these out of the mailbox and I have not looked at either one. We will start with this one. This is one I've been wanting a while now. And as you can see on the box, we have a Yan Knives. And it is the Model CK full titanium with holes, titanium bead blast, milled pattern, Magna cut belt satin. So there she is in all her glory. Nice. Finally got me a chevron. Oh wow. It's got just as good of action as I was hoping for. Morning, Ron Crow. Oh yes, I'm very happy about that one. One of the pivot screws is a little buggered up. So he got a whole new pivot set. And it was on the way to him when I bought the knife. So he sent it to me and it should be here within tomorrow or the next day. So I'll have a brand new pivot set and it came with an extra lock bar insert. So that'll be cool. I don't know which one is bad. Yeah. So there's that one. And then the other one is the new might as well use another artisan to open the artisan, and that is the Caruso. And this is the Laconico special set that they came out with, the Gambit set. I'm going to do an unboxing video on this one, but I thought I would go ahead and look at it this morning. But this is the Queen's Gambit. And man, already got a fingerprint on it. But I really do like the lines of it. Very clean, Laconico-esque. Clean line, front flipper, no flipper tab. Just clean lines, both sides. See how the front flipper works. Oh man, front flipper, super easy. You can just roll it around, super easy. So this is the Queen's Gambit. They made a rook and, you know, all the different chess pieces. But that is the new Laconico Gambit series. Good morning, Fred. But I'm definitely glad I got the Queen. Something John made me realize last night is a lot of artisan knives are really thin. This Ketuo is very thin. It's 0.42. And just to compare it, this is the Caruso, which is another artisan knife, but it is one of their bigger ones, but most of them are the thickness of this Ketuo. So you can tell they got a lot of thin knives. I didn't look at this one completely, but it looked a little on the thin side. Yeah, just a straight milled clip. That's the Laconico. Yeah, it's on the thin side as well. Might even be thinner. So I don't know if they're doing that to save some material costs or what, but they are pretty thin nowadays. All right. So the fixed blade for Thursday. I got to get this back out. I'm going to be carrying this today. And it's good and chunky. Just to compare again, you can see that it's wider than the Ketuo. Yeah, very nice hollow grind like Pete said. And the action on it's superb. It's got maybe just a little bit of side-to-side play. Yeah, it does. It's probably because of that pivot that he said something about being stripped. Yeah, that feels better. And that probably affected the action, but no, not bad. All right, cool. So I got a lot of work done yesterday to the fixed blade. I got both screws completely replaced with the bigger holes. I got the brass lanyard tube cut to size and put in. And I got it matching up really good. When I re-drilled these holes bigger, they got a little bit off, so I had to match up the scales to the metal again. So I got that sanded and done pretty good. I did a little bit more rounding off of it. But yeah, the lanyard pin, the lanyard tube is going to fit perfectly. And not fall out. It takes a little bit of pressure to get it into place. So that's cool. Let me see here what we got as far as... So I did complete the filing jig throughout the night, or my interpretation of one. I have no idea if it will actually work, but we are going to try it. This is what it looks like. Well, see. That's not what it looks like. That is what it looks like. I had to run to Home Depot and be there when they opened this morning at 6 in order to buy a couple more things that I totally forgot. I was able to make it out of one piece instead of having to join more than one piece. I actually have it clamped to just a card table. And I put the file on the direction I put the file on so that I could swap out and use different files. But I guess we're going to try to start putting an edge on this thing, or a grind on it at least. How are you guys doing this morning? Good morning, Waylon. So I'm going to start to disassemble this thing and show y'all what all is required in that. Right now, it takes, so both of these screws come out on both sides. And these little tubes stay in place because of their fitment. So both of these come out. I've still got to do just a little more sanding around these holes to get them to sit exactly flush, but they're really close. All right, so all four of those come out, and then it just leaves the little tubes down in there. But you cannot pull the scales apart because of how tight they fit in the scales. And the lanyard tube is the same way. It pretty much doesn't want to move either direction. So to get them out, I've got to use the appropriate size drill bits. These are 5 millimeters and are the exact same size as those. So what I've been doing is I've just been hanging it off the edge of a workbench, putting that drill bit in there and tapping it a few times. And with a mallet so that I don't ruin my drill bit tip. Let me get this. I was actually doing it out in the garage. This has got a padded. This is not working nearly as well. But I've almost got that one out. Hold on, let me get this other one pretty much out. Alright. I think that one, yeah, that one came almost all the way out. So see, I just got to use the drill bit to push them through. And then the lanyard tube is the same way. And I have a 10 millimeter bit. And once I get it to do a final assembly, I will secure them. But the lanyard tube is very, very close to the exact right size. You can kind of twist it out, get it out. So there's the lanyard tube. This side of the scale should come off now. I do want to show you one other thing. I did finish up all the weight reduction holes. I got all them finished yesterday. So I got those other 4. So now all 8 of those are the same size, and those 3 in the middle are bigger. Let me see here. All right, now I just got to get this last one out. Give me just a second. Well, tell you what, I'm gonna hit it out the other way, and I'm gonna show you why. So that little that little patch piece that I made, good grief. I need a better, this surface is springy, so it's not helping very much. Hold on just a second. Yeah, I can't get it. I need to set it up on something like this tube. Let me see if this works. This should work. There it goes. All right. So now I've got my two little. Now we got the blade. So yeah, I've got all the weight reduction done that I can do. I mean, that I want to do back here. It still weighs 7.4 ounces right now, but I'm hoping today, after we grind a little bit of this blade away, that it'll start lightening up some. So, what I thought we would do first today is take this little stencil and a Sharpie and draw out what I pretty much think I want the blade grind to look like. And that will be something kind of like that. So, let me hold this in place while I try to get this close up here. Give me just a second to get focused. I still haven't bought any of that blue dye that you're supposed to use for stuff like this. So I'm having to make do the best way that I can. And this thing does not want to write hardly at all. But that's alright. We can fill all that in with something. I've got other Sharpies. Now let me do the same exact thing on this side, even though we probably won't get to both sides today. I should have cleaned it with alcohol really good before I did this. But of course I didn't. And we're not going to be able to get all this grind done today anyway. So I'm not too concerned with the finals on this. But I would like to get it at least in the right place. All right. So I've got my outside line at least. And then I've also got my 1/8 inch drill bit, which is the same width as this blade. And yes, it is. So I will scratch a line on that. I'm going to do that on a flat surface out here. It's better than this padded thing because I don't want to mess it up. But we're going to scribe this line here with the drill bit. So we have our middle line. And then we at least have our plunge lines and our top line on where to go to. So I need to get some of that blue stuff that you paint on. But we should be able to get something done today. Yeah, I've got some I've got some other markers that I could use, but I thought I had another Sharpie sitting right here that was red. It reminded me of... Aha! Here's my other Sharpie that I think actually works. And I'm not sure about my my file. Wasn't really able to round over the corner, the edge of it as well as I would. My belt sander evidently sucks. It's one of those 4-inch wide Harbor Freight cheap ones, and it's not very even as far as the pressure. So I tried to get it rounded over to do the plunge line good, but I don't know how well I did, so I might not do the plunge line today. We might just do part of the, start doing the grind here. That looks way better though. Alright. So, I'm going to switch the mic to the phone out there. Hold on, let me get my other phone turned on so I can read chat. Let me get my old Note 9 fired up. Alright, so we'll go out there. I will scribe this line down the middle here. And then we will see how well... I haven't tested or used or even attempted to use my jig out there yet. So we will kind of go through it together and see if I did okay on building it. If y'all don't mind, smash that like button. I would appreciate it. So before we go out there, let me just kind of give you an overview of what's going on here. Wow, I might need some more lighting. That's all right, I've got some. So we have, I put T-nuts all on the bottom side. I will show y'all this when we get out there, but there's T-nuts, they're threaded inserts that go in, and they're on the bottom side of all these holes. I actually ran out. The two very end ones don't have them, but the rest of them have T-nuts down in there. So these bolts all thread into them, and then I've got two nuts so that you can lock them together at the base there to make them stay at the same place. And then I had to use a router to route the edge of it because it has to be at an angle. So out here at the edge where the clamps are, you see I had to use a router to route off an angle because when you start grinding on the blade, the file was hitting the wood instead of hitting the metal. So I took that edge off, and then on the table there, you see that I had to go buy another longer screw to do the bevel grind, the one right there to the left of the middle. But I'll talk about all this stuff when I go out there, but I just wanted to kind of do an overview of what's going on with this thing. But I'm going to I'm going to switch the microphone to that. You see here. Oh man, I think my phone doesn't have any battery, so I won't have any chat for a little while, unless I figure out something else to do out there. But I can just wing it for a few minutes while this one charges for a little while. So all right, I'm about to move out there. Yeah, Pete, I got mine for a lot cheaper than that. That's why I was saying I had one for sale too, if you were able to get that for yours. I don't remember exactly what I paid, but I did pay a lot less. I'm going to switch the mic to in there, and I'll be in there in just a second. All right. Hopefully y'all can hear me. I'm going to use a flat surface over here and run this drill bit along the edge. Then flip it over and run it along the edge again. All right. I don't know if y'all can see that line, but there is a line on the edge now. There's two lines, and right in between there is where I need the... Actually, that didn't work the greatest. Let me try that again. Make sure I got a definite brand new drill bit, so... All right. Wherever that biggest scratch is, I'm going to grab the Sharpie and do it one more time. Give me just a second, guys. I actually got to figure out what's going on with this lighting. Hold on, give me just a second. Y'all can hear me. I know y'all can hear me out there. Oh, there we go. Right, but the ISO's better. Alright, that should be okay for now. Sunlight is messing with everything. But like I said, getting our grind to the middle of the blade is super important. I'm going to draw back over this and redo it. Come on, Sharpie, draw. Sharpie's all streaking and stuff. All right, let me let that dry for just a second while I show y'all what's going on with the rig here. So my head probably just popped into frame. All right. So like I said, let me get these unclamped for a second. And I am going to make this on a better base. So I've got my metal rod here that is attached to my file. And like I said, I put it this way so I could swap in and out different files. And I can hold it down here, it's no problem. I did round over the edge right here so that we can make a plunge line on this side. And when I hold it like that, that would make the plunge line. Then I've got my I've got my bolts here, but underneath here, what I was talking about, the T-nuts, is I put T-nuts everywhere so that all these thread in. And I forgot to get this longer bolt this morning. This is the one you use for the plunge grind. These other ones are fine. And while I was there, I went ahead and grabbed some rubber pieces to hold the blade into place so that it didn't scratch the blade. So I bought some rubber grommets here, and these should fit on these bolts to help hold the knife down. So right here we got one. So where the blade, let me put that edge on the blade now that the Sharpie's dried. All right, that worked. I can see where my middle line is now. So we will lay this in here. And we will get it lined up. Let's see here. Let me get it clamped back down to the table and get everything ready here. All right, got that clamped back down. I should have gotten bigger washers and bigger rubber pieces, but that's all right. I can make these work. Dang it. All right, so I want to see where the plunge line will land if I lay this up against here. I want my plunge line to be about like that. And like I said, I'm going to leave a little space because I don't want to, and actually I need to get that, I'm afraid it's going to hit this wood, but we're all learning, so I guess we'll just see how it goes here. Let me get this tightened down. I'm sure y'all have some suggestions and such. And that's super cool. Actually, I need to put this one over here so that we can grind all the way. And I might need to make these lower. This is all just trial and error. I've never done this before. Y'all may have. This is the exact first time I'm trying this, so okay, that didn't work too good. And neither did that. All right, so we got problems to begin with. I might need to put this hole further up so that it's not in line with these two. That might be a problem. Might need to put this, put a hole for this up here so that it's out of the way, so that I can clamp this down good. But we're gonna at least today, like I said, this is all trial and error. We're gonna at least get it clamped down and get some steel removed from it. And like I said, if I need to modify this thing to hold it better, or whatever I need to do, I will do that. But let's see here. Let me actually get it where it's locked down this time. Because I need to see if these bolts are going to clear, or if I need to get some shorter bolts. There's lots of things I need to test that I wasn't able to during the night. But we can come back. I don't have to do the plunge right now. That's why I said I didn't kind of want to do it anyway right now, because I'm not confident that the edge of this file. Let's see if we're hitting metal. We are hitting metal. We are removing metal. Now here, we're hitting wood. So that's a problem. That is definitely a problem. I knew I might have to trim off some more of this edge because of the angles. Yep. Or I can straighten out the blade somehow. But this blade grind, all right. So I knew I probably needed to cut off the edge of this. I don't know if y'all can see, but it is doing its thing here. I'm being very careful not to get to the plunge line, because we can come back and do that. But right in through here, it's working great. I do want to maintain and try to keep it even. And this coffee table is not the greatest surface to do this. But as you can see right there, I start hitting the wood because of the angle I'm at. Now if I drop the angle down, I could make it work better right now, but I think what I will do is, since I have a nice wood shop, and I know I can do this precisely and quickly, I'm going to let y'all talk to yourselves for a second. And I'm going to go cut this off real quick. I can make it happen in a matter of seconds, so why not get it done? Sorry I can't take y'all with me on that trip, but I will be right back. As you see, everything breaks down quickly. Let me go cut the front off of this, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, sorry about that. I'm back. I cut that off and sanded the edge of it. All right, so now that should work a little better. Let's reassemble and try. All right, let's see. See right there. Not going to tighten that one all the way yet. Put the other one right here. Push that all the way up against it. Crank that one down. Yeah, I like those little rubber grommets under there to keep the blade from getting scratched. All right. Now we should be able to possibly hit the edge all the way. I don't know. Let's find out. Nope. So the curve of that. All right. Well. All right. So now that I know that it's still not going to hit, let me go run my, I know y'all are getting bored with me running and leaving, but let me go run my router down the edge of this and take a 45-degree angle off, and that should fix it. So once again, I will be right back. All right, guys. Last time. I'm not doing any more mods today. If this doesn't work, we're going to take it as a lesson learned and move on. Fix it out of, but you see now I put a chamfered edge on it. So let's try this one more time. What this channel's about. Learning. I think it's going to work, so I'm going to go ahead and test my clamps here. All right. So now I've put a 45 on this edge here. So yes, this is going to work nicely this time. All right, got that one on. That one on. Got it butted up against there. Tighten it down. I know I can't see the chat, and y'all probably talking and saying, "All right, don't do that, don't do whatever." Like, but let me just walk through. Let me just work through this and see if I can get the kinks worked out. So, let's see if we can hit that edge now. Nope. So I guess I'm gonna have to turn the edge. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make holes where I can rotate the edge to where it's kind of parallel like you would do on a knife sharpener. So I'm going to have different placement for holes. But I like the fact that I put the T-nuts on the bottom because they don't interfere with the top up here. So like if I need to adjust this and turn this blade to where it's more like that, and actually I can use my clamp. But when you got a curve like this, you probably need to do like that. I could probably try to use this clamp to hold the board and the knife. Let's try that. Yeah. So I might need to put some other holes in here to line up or figure out something. I definitely, because you need to be able to, yeah, I can almost get to the tip now. If I cut off a little bit more, or if I sanded this angle down, I would be able to get all the way to that tip. And I can definitely get here, but I can't make my plunge line. All right, gonna have to be some rethinking of this according to this blade shape. And we might just decide to put the blade grind in some other way and use this for knives that don't have such a curve on them. But I said that we were going to do some filing today, and I feel like we have a little bit. I'm definitely getting, and like I said, it's going to take about 45 minutes, so I might need to just make a little strip here that doesn't stick out much further than these bolts here. I'm rethinking this, and I could do it like this if I was to just have it cut off right here. Like maybe only a ½ inch past, like maybe right past where the T-nuts are. And that might work. But I can always knock these T-nuts out and use them in a different configuration. I do have multiple heights, so I can change the angles pretty good with that, so I'm not worried about that end of it. But maybe I need to cut this back. You see, I don't have T-nuts in these last two holes or this one. I need to buy some more. But I might need to cut it back to where there's only about an inch. Like cut it all the way across here to where I'll still have enough to clamp down the knife here, but it'll be up under the blade at the edge. So yeah, I'm not sure what we should do about that. But yeah, I was able to start getting it, but I couldn't get all the way to the very tip. So that kind of sucks. Um, I was going to be happy filing for 45 minutes on video this morning and working up a sweat, but I want to make sure I do it evenly, so I don't want to do too much more without getting that tip started. And then I also need to think about the placement of this. I need to put another T-nut over here to where I can use this to guide the plunge cut. So what you do is you have this right there, and then it can't go any further than right there, and it makes your plunge cut at the same place every time. So anyway, I'm going to go back in there and rethink what I might need. I think that would be enough to clamp. I mean, you're really only clamping at that edge anyway, but you wanted to have enough support that when you start filing here, you're not tweaking it. So maybe somewhere like right there. Maybe I cut it off right there, and then it'll overhang enough that I can get out to the tip. Even if I have it put like that, I should be able, if it was clamped right there, yeah, if it was cut off right there, I would definitely be able to get to the tip. And I could make this angle more, and that would fix it too. Instead of a 45, I could make this at a lower angle and leave it this wide, but it wouldn't matter. It would still only be supported up there on the top anyway, wherever that little edge is. So I'm thinking I might just leave an edge right there. So I'm going to go back in there and see what y'all are saying about it, see what y'all think, take some suggestions. All right, so I'm back in here, and I guess y'all heard everything I said. I hit my camera on the way out. All right. So, as you can see, I had a little bit of an issue, not a major one. But with the way it is, I'm unable to get out there to the point, and I'm not sure that y'all could see that I was actually getting a good. And like I said, I stopped before the plunge line right here. Yeah, I do need a fulcrum at that point. You're right. I do need to center this. But to get the blade grind started, that only matters when I get up there to the very top. It's all going to be at the same angle, regardless of how this is. But I do need to try to center this on the center of where my arc is. But that'll only affect the very top grind up there. Michael, let's just go watch that video, and we will get an idea of the way he's got his blade placed. Whoops. So if you see right here, he's got it right up next to the edge, like I was saying. And he even cut off the corner there. So see right there, prime example. If I cut off the corner, the edge, like I said, and he just screwed it down through the handles too. So you could do that as well. But if I get it out to the edge, that should be a good start. And then the guy that actually made made the jig like 12 years ago. Yeah, this is the guy right here. Let me get some volume on here.
Hey guys, Aaron from Golf Custom here. I've had a lot of requests over the last little while to show you how to make and use like the one that I've used in my previous videos. So today I'm going to show you how to make this, which is a simplified and improved version of the jig that I've used in the past. It costs about 20 bucks to make, not including the file, and all of the parts are available at pretty much any hardware store.
Here you can see a selection of the materials that we're going to be using to build our filing jig. The full bill of materials is listed in the description for this video, which is located just underneath the video window. If you don't have the tools available to cut up the plywood, I recommend you go to Home Depot and ask them to do it for you. They're generally happy to oblige for a small charge. Here I'm marking center lines on the 10 and 11 inch pieces of plywood to aid us during assembly. Once we have the center lines marked, we're going to put some glue on the 14 inch piece of plywood so that we can stack the other pieces up on top of it. Once you have everything stacked up and clamped, drill some 1/8 inch holes at the locations I'm showing so that we can screw everything together while the glue dries.
Y'all gotta give me just a second. I'm trying to get my Bluetooth headset connected. I'm having issues. I gotta mute the mic so it doesn't feed back into the microphone when I play his audio. So give me just a second to try to get this headset connected. What is going on here? Why is it acting crazy? Hold on. Devices. I'm gonna have to remove them. I've got two sets of the same kind of earbuds, and so every time I go to try to add one of them back, it doesn't work right. Alright, here we go. Alright, I'm good now, so we're back to watching the video. I'm going to skip forward.
Once all the holes are drilled, use some number 8 screws
so we can see everything
together until the glue dries.
Alright, so
Are tapped. We can go ahead and test fit.
Let's see what happens. Let's see where he places the blade.
Doesn't do. One will be square.
There's where he rounds off the corners of the file
nicely and can cause a weak point in the knife. Yes, a great. It is a good idea. This stops. The jig is now ready to be mounted in a vise or firmly clamped to a.
All right, so let's see how he does here.
Our file.
So you can see he's only got about a 1/2 inch past the blade. So that's how he deals with it. But how does he get all the way out there to the end of it?
And the guide rod. We've got the eye bolt, which forms the guide for the guide rod. We've got our platform here. We've got 2 bolts, one of which is a backstop and stops the.
Okay, so he doesn't really tighten them down on top of the blade.
When you're putting pressure on it.
He uses a clamp to hold the blade down.
The other one is the stop bolt that stops the.
So that solves that problem with having to redo
your plunge line.
The plunge line.
The plunge line is the transition between the blade bevel and the ricasso. The flat.
But see, he doesn't have it centered either.
So once you're ready to grind,
none of them ever have it centered.
The first thing you need to do is take your blank and mark a center line down the middle. So you can use eye bolt as
the angle's going to be the same regardless.
Once bolt or move.
He's doing a full flat grind across the whole knife, though.
Fine tune it without the possibility of ruining the spine. And when you
he shows a blank one here in a minute, though.
So you're at the bottom of this eye bolt. So there's 3 main complicated parts to doing a grind with the bevel. The first one is the plunge line, which is the transition between the blade bevel and the ricasso. So this area here is called the plunge line. The next one is getting an even grind across the whole bevel. And the third one is the tip of the knife. So I'm going to start out explaining what's difficult about the plunge line. The plunge line has the tendency to push the left-hand side of the file up and make you apply all your pressure to the right-hand side. This means that you'll end up with a low spot exactly one file width away from your plunge line. So when you're working into the plunge, I recommend working with little circular motions that each time touch the guide bolt here. And when you do that, I recommend rolling the file toward the plunge line and trying to keep pressure off the opposite side. Because if you don't do that, you'll end up with a low spot here.
He's definitely got the board right out there at the end of the knife, though.
Even throughout the whole process. I recommend, taking a Sharpie or something and drawing some parallel lines at different increments away from your blade edge, and then working to those parallel lines upwards in stages as you work towards the spine. The reason for this is that if you're not doing it evenly at all points, then you'll end up with low spots or with high spots that are really hard to work out and to even out into a flat grind. So you're going to be, to keep everything even, you're going to want to make nice wide strokes with your file like this every single time. And you want to make sure that when you're thinking about the grind, for a full flat grind, this grind actually continues upward past here. So you don't want the grind to be stopping here, you want to be pushing it back past the spine when you're near the tip of the...
Alright, he takes a full blank when it shows it here in a second.
Put a working or metal gets finished. Once you take it to get it, this which...
Alright, here we go.
Not perfect.
Here I'm showing some footage of the file guide in use, so that you can...
So see, the blade's overhanging the piece of wood, so he can get to the tip. So the wood is up under the blade. So that answers that question. I need to cut it back to where it's even with where my blades are going to be, so that I can get out there to the point.
In detail.
Because it's up underneath the blade.
Notice how I'm taking wide,
and knowing that I can just use the bolts and a clamp to hold the knife in place and let it rest up against that other bolt.
Steady strokes. And
it's cool too. I didn't pay attention.
I make sure to always lightly touch the stop bolt without dwelling too much in that area.
But see, the center, the arc is going to be the same regardless throughout the whole, but the center is over there where that far left screw is, so he doesn't have it centered on the blade grind. It shouldn't matter because the arc is the arc. But he did the same thing with the T-nuts, putting them down underneath it. But now I know I can just use a clamp.
Steadily and evenly working backward in parallel to the cutting edge. This is...
But he's got the wood that supports it way up underneath the edge of the blade. I think what you're seeing is where he's already ground the other side of the blade, Michael. So it's sitting off the board and it sits on top of that bolt. If you look, you can see he's got it resting on kind of on top of that bolt. See that left bolt? Hold on. You see where the left bolt is? It's covered with metal shavings. He's kind of got it sitting up on top of that. But I think he's already ground the other side, and so there's a gap underneath it. But it's kind of sitting on that bolt head. Alright, so now seeing this, I just need to cut the wood back a little bit, and we should have been good to go, really. And use the clamp to hold the knife in place, or screw through the handle. It makes me want to run out there and cut off a little more of that edge and try again. What do y'all think? Y'all think I should go cut off a little more and then try again? Do y'all mind waiting a couple minutes while I do that? See, you can see how he's kind of got it sitting on top of that bolt. Alright. If y'all don't care, I go cut... Alright. I'm gonna go cut that off real quick. Let me throw on a video for y'all to watch for a minute. Or something. This is the article. This is what TC said. Or linked. Oh yeah, I saw this one too, using a round file. But y'all can watch. Yeah, I watched this the other day too. He uses a round file to do his plunge line. But see, he's got it hanging off the edge of the wood too. Okay, so I just need to cut my wood back, and that should solve most of my problems. And he's got 2 levels of holes, so that might be a good idea to put in.
Take this file.
I'm gonna make it my own, but I'm gonna let y'all watch this for a second.
Make sure your strokes are tracking with the scribed plunge line you placed onto the knife.
But that's why I filed the corner of my... I mean, that's why I rounded over the corner of my file so it would make the plunge line like that.
Progressively bring your angle down to move the plunge.
But I was thinking about using a round file. I talked about that yesterday.
Keep your file, the better, especially towards the end of file.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go cut off a little more of that.
With sandpaper, easier when you move on to that step. Once you get around 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch away from the bevel line, go ahead and stop. Then match this process on the other side. You'll eventually blend your bevel into this hand-filed plunge. Next, you're off to the grinder. You can build the jig or you can do it freehand. I've done it both ways, and to be honest, I'm starting to prefer freehand. But for this example, I'll use a jig. Start at an aggressive angle into your blade and grind down close to your scribed center line. Then start steepening your angle so that you work towards the bevel of your knife. Once you get to around the 1/16 of an inch away from your bevel's stop. If you're good at grinding, you can continue all the way up to your scribed line. One thing I like about this method is it allows you to learn how to grind, but it keeps the safeties on so you won't ruin your blade. If you're confident in your grinding, you can go all the way up to the scribe line. If not though, we'll take out the file jig. You can build this file jig for a very low cost. I'll link a video on how to do so from another YouTuber. Now you take your file, or a file covered with sandpaper, and start to work up to your scribe bevel line. This will allow you to get a bevel that is even and flat. You can roll the sandpaper over to the edge of your file and work into your plunge lines that you created with the chainsaw file. Do this gently and you should be able to clean them up nicely. I generally take the blade up to around 220 grit, then it's off to heat treating. After heat treating, you can come back to this file jig, or if you're getting better at grinding, go back to the grinder and clean it up with some surface conditioning belts. To wrap this up, I think this is a good way to get your feet wet with grinding bevels, without risking ruining a bunch of knife steel. It's faster than by hand and can be used as a stepping stone on the full-on freehand belt grinding. I hope you all found this video helpful, and if you did, please smash that like and subscribe button. I'll have more content coming at you.
Alright guys, I'm back. I got that trimmed up goodly. Goodly. How long has this video been over? Hopefully it's not been over long. Alright, where we at? Let's see here. So I got it cut off about where I made that edge, and then I changed my router and just put a little bevel edge on it. So that should be good now. I've still got plenty of room next to my T-nuts here, and I can put another row of T-nuts to help make me some more spacing here. But I'm going to... Alright, I should have enough charge on my other phone now to turn it back on and get some chat. Let me get it turned back on. And... connect back to the camera. Alright. Let's see. We're connected now. Let me run out there and get the camera set up. And I'll be right back. Alrighty, guys. Got the camera set back up.
Today we're going to be talking about a
Whoops.
very hot topic for knife makers who are just getting started out.
Something's playing. Hold on.
Straight, even plunge lines. Getting straight, even plunge lines
What is
one of
that?
the hardest things.
Oh. Sorry. Alright. So let me turn the phone back on. There we go. I'm going to go back out there. We're going to try some more. We don't give up. I've got my other phone now too, so maybe I can pay attention to the chat. Let's see. If I can find it. Yep, there it is. Hang it, where's my coffee? Lost my coffee, give me a second. Alright, whoops, guess I need to grab the knife. Alright, let's try this again. I knew I was going to have to tweak something. I figured my holes might be too... That's always good for it. At least it's still... Well, dang, my phone didn't charge at all. So, I can't see the chat. Y'all just have to bear with me. Alright. Now, I might have cut too much off. Except that I can... And I can remake this thing. Like I said, I can knock these T-nuts out the other side and redo it. But let's see here. Now I can't clamp it down because I don't have enough. That's good, Chip. Cut off too much. Let's see here. So I can use this. Let me get stuff reassembled here. So I can see where my plunge line is going to be. All right. So if I put this here, I turn it about like that. about right there. Now I can take this rubber, take all these off of this. Let me get this to where I'm close, and I can adjust it. Still going to use this piece of rubber. Dang it. Yep, just what I thought. Might have cut off too much metal now. I can't get this clamped on there. I mean, I might have cut off too much wood. Let's see if I can get this. Come on, coffee table, act right. I mean, card table. Hold on. Having issues. Might have cut off too much wood. Should have left a little bit more. Wasn't thinking about having to clamp it. But I'm about ready to just use the holes. All right, we're going to get something done by just using the holes in the... We're just going to get this thing done by using this hole in a clamp and a bolt. Alright, so I'm going to clamp that one there. I'm going to put this one here to butt up against. Whoops. Alright. Butt up against that one. And then I'm going to use the clamp to hold the rest of it. Alright. We can at least get a lot of it done. Alright. That's got that. Now let me clamp the thing to the table here. Yep, I'll have to rethink my jig, but at least I got the right parts now. Alright, that feels pretty good right there. So I'll just be careful by this plunge area. I can come back and do it. Now I'm hitting, alright. Now it's going to piss me off because I didn't buy short enough bolts. They go, alright, I got some issues here. I'm going to have to rethink this. But I think I've got it clamped hard enough with those two screws. Let me make sure I got this really tweaked down. All right, that shouldn't move. I need to remount where I can. This card table is not the ideal place to be doing this either. Yeah, I just need to rethink it a little bit now that I've seen how I need it to work. I'm about to the middle. Alright, I'm pretty close to the middle because of this sharp angle. All right, so let's see what happens when we lower it down here. Start changing our angle. We at least need to experiment a little today. Now I got my angle lowered since we got to the middle. Yeah, I need to rethink this clamp and rod too. Gotta make sure I keep it pressed down like this. That's why, but the card table wants to move, so I gotta kind of pick my battles this morning as far as practicing here. I gotta hold the card table. He showed after 45 minutes where he was at. So after you get to your middle line, you got to drop the angle and work your way all the way up to where you want to go with the grind. I know that much at least. So that's what I'm doing now. I almost think you could do it with a fixed angle sharpener, but you need some really meaty stones. And I gotta get this on a table where it's not rocking. This rocking table is not helping anything. And my clamps, like all these things are things I'm seeing. I need my clamps to where they don't hit at this lower angle. So there's lots of things I need to work on, but you can't figure it out if you don't ever do it. So, yeah, I need a flathead to move this clamp around a little bit. Whoops. Let me move the camera. My clamps are turning around and they're hitting underneath it. That doesn't help. Let me grab a flathead so I can at least fix that. Since it takes about 40 minutes per side, I shouldn't expect tons of progress just instantly, even though I'm a little impatient. But this clamp right here needs to be turned. So that it doesn't hit. Something like that. I did make some little round places on the back of this handle so that they wouldn't slide. This one's in the air enough that it doesn't really matter. There we go. That's way better. As long as I maintain downward pressure, it's keeping this stupid card table from rocking. That's the most annoying part. But let me show y'all. So if you round over this edge right here, so this is the edges that you saw him doing on that belt sander. So I've rounded off this edge. So in theory, it'll make the plunge line. But like he said, you need to focus on putting pressure on this left side so that you don't leave a mark here in the middle. But I'm going to put another row of screws up here that I could use to guide that to make my plunge lines. But if I could rub that right there against there, I could make a good plunge line with this rounded off side of this file. And I'll get it rounded off to where it is very smooth and has the same profile the whole way, so it's good and rounded to make bevels eventually. This is my first knife ever, so it's all learning. But you can see now that it is definitely doing its thing now. So you need to keep that sitting down in that. I know I'm not talking much, but I need to get a brush to wipe out the metal shavings like he said too. That's looking cool though. Let me see if I got a paintbrush over here or a rag or something. Huh, I actually do have an old paintbrush laying here just to knock some shavings out with. I need to clean the rust off this thing like I said I was going to too. Alright, I know y'all are going to sit here and watch this for 40 minutes. But I wanted to show what I was going to be doing off camera if I decided to work on it off camera. I wanted to show that on camera before actually doing it off camera. So I need to and I'll totally remake this board until it's perfect today, probably. I'll probably knock out these T-nuts. I've got a bunch of these old cabinet faces that I can make a couple of these out of. Yeah, so after you work to your center line at a very high angle, then you lower it down, and that you won't get back to that middle angle for a while until you remove a lot of metal. And you eventually just keep adjusting it until your file is hitting the middle line at the same time as it's hitting this back line. And that's the correct angle to finish it at. I could probably use my inclinometer and do some angle measurements too. Figure it out a little bit. But anyway, like I said, I'm not going to sit here for 40 minutes today. I just wanted to show y'all what I would be doing off the camera if I decided to. And I said we would get to grinding today. And I'm happy with that so far. And I didn't get to the middle. I started working, you know, I wanted to see some progress. But with some couple of Model 2 and some prototype, this is a prototype, I guess. This is a alpha with a beta version and then an RC version. Should be able to get this thing dialed in pretty good. And like I said, I've got 3 links of that, plus you can move them forward and back to change the angles. I'll get this set with the right distance away. I'll put a second row of holes. I'll get some more T-nuts. And yeah, should be well on our way to finishing this blade grind this week. This metal is actually coming off pretty easily. But anyway, I'm going to go back in there and we're going to end this thing up. Oh, dang, I didn't have the right microphone on. What I was saying is I'm happy with where we're at right now. I knew there'd be some kinks to work out, but I had it at such a low angle that it would have taken, it might have gotten all the way up there to the top before it got to the middle line. But I'm not quite to the middle line anyway. But like I said, you start with a real high angle until you get to the middle, and then you drop it down, and then it's not going to get to the middle. It's going to take off all this first. And at some point, you'll be finished whenever you have it at the right angle to where it hits here and the middle line at the same time. But And what I also just said is I could have done all this with my fixed angle sharpener, but that file is going to remove metal a lot quicker. And it won't take me a couple of times to get it prototyped a lot better than it is now. I just needed to see what were going to be the problems when trying to work with it. And who knows, I might make one that's real easy to just screw through these two screws right here to hold the knife in place. And you know, I might make just a cheap one to get until we get to the final stages. I mean, we're going to sharpen this thing on my fixed angle sharpener anyway, but I'm cool with the grind. I mean, I was only doing it like 10 minutes. If I would have been doing it 40 minutes, I probably could have got that side done. And I got to get my plunge line, I got to get that rod set up right. But I didn't go over far enough to ruin my plunge line. I can go in with a round file and put a plunge in before I finish working on it. Anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all being here today, learning with me as we work on this knife. Yeah, that's what I was saying out there. That coffee table, I couldn't keep downward pressure and keep that rod from moving, so it was making me mad. So I definitely need to get it attached somewhere where I'm going to actually be using it. And I will have it set up at that position next time instead of the the card table, so that it won't jump around like that. But I knew I wasn't going to hurt anything with what I was doing so far. I mean, if we had been farther along into the grind and it really mattered, I wouldn't have let it jump around like that. But I knew I had a lot of metal to remove, so I knew I was safe. But yeah, ideally you need it to be stable. And ideally I would like smaller eye bolts, but when you start getting smaller eye bolts, Lowe's and Home Depot doesn't have long ones, they have short ones. So I'm going to have to order some longer ones with some smaller holes so it doesn't have room to jump around as much or something. But I'll get it. I don't understand what you're asking, Sever. When you put the plunge line in, you can put a sharpening choil behind it. But the plunge line should be curved. It'll curve like down, and then the edge will start. Just like on any knife, there's always that little curve right there. And I don't know about knocking off that back corner. Some knives do knock off that back corner. Most all knives do, I guess. So I do need to think about that. So I don't know how much of a little angle I'm going to put right there. But the plunge line on that one and the edge stop. But you can see where the curve is on the plunge line. So the curve on that plunge line stops even with the edge right there. I don't know if you can tell that in the video, but it's curved. It's curved all the way down even with that right there to the edge. And then behind that, they made a little sharpening choil. But that rounded part of this one stops right even with the edge, and then they put a sharpening choil in. I hope you can see that little curve. Whoops, little curve right there. Yeah, you can see it, how it lines up with the edge there. So that's the plunge line. I'm going to get a larger round file. I don't have a bigger one. I've got a little tiny one. But yeah, man, I'm getting excited about it, especially with the lanyard hole and how well everything's meeting up and matching up and feeling like a knife. That's just weird to me. See, this lanyard tube will pretty much just push right in if you twist it a certain way. There it goes. So it just fits in there perfectly. And I'm going to polish up both sides of that. These things are a lot tighter. The little barrels that go in between, they're real tight through the holes in the blade. You can't just push them in. You got to kind of tap them in. Actually, I got it pushed in a little bit. I've been using a little, like the back, I've been using this little hammer. And then I put the screw head on. And I don't screw it in all the way. I leave it out just a little bit. That's how, and I've been hitting that, hammering that flush. There we go. And then I've been pulling it up tight from the other side. But these are getting super tight and pulling flush. So yeah, I'm super excited about getting all that stuff done. And my little patch is still holding up, so I'm cool with that too. I'm proud of the fact I filled in that little hole, because that's where this back screw goes through. Yeah, Pete, I haven't done much reading on knife making yet. I'm just kind of winging it. But these little things fit tightly. Once I get the threads, it pulls it in the rest of the way. But I got them pretty flush with the scales now on both sides. And whenever I do my final assembly, I'm going to have to put like a little drop of hot glue or a little drop of super glue or something in there to hold the lanyard plug in. But I'm happy with the progress we're making. It's coming out along slow, and I could have had it finished by now if I'd been working on it off video a long time ago. I'm trying to not work on it except in front of y'all, but that's why I wanted to get some of this grinding done today. So if I came back and said, hey, I did the same thing we did the other day, but did it longer and got it closer to being finished, you know, I don't want it to take so long on video, and I want to be able to you know, show y'all. But yeah, I'll keep my little stencil here and we'll be able to redraw that grind on, but it's starting to look like it's got an edge now. It's still blunt as can be, but at least it'll take decent pictures. Looks like it has a full flat grind now with an edge on it. And no plunge line. But anyway, appreciate you guys being here. I got to get a nap and I got to go work a 12-hour shift tonight. So yeah, my day has been cut short because of that. But I hope you guys have a great Thursday. And we will learn more next week. And talk about knives again tomorrow. Appreciate y'all being here. If you hadn't hit that like button, please do it on your way out if you don't mind. I would truly appreciate that. And if you need me, make sure to reach out. But I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.